Everyone. The chair is going to get started shortly here, but just a quick housekeeping note. If you could please mute yourself until you're ready to speak to the application, that would be great. This just reduces any background noise. Thank you. We can get started in a minute here. Okay, Mr. Chair, sorry, I see Len joining right now.
Okay.
At 4 p.m., so you're good to go.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone, committee members and attendees. If I could have a motion, please, to convene our meeting this afternoon. Mover and seconder for the motion, Wibb and Lee. That the Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Seguin hereby convenes at 4:01 p.m. on my computer, Wednesday, June the 14th, 2023. All those in favor? Raise your hand, please. Thank you. Carried. So the Committee of Adjustment hereby convenes as a meeting as a public meeting per the Planning Act. Applicants and the public can speak at the public meeting. When asked who wishes to speak to an application, please raise your hand, state your name and address, and direct all questions through me, the chair. Notice of the decisions will be sent to applicants and to the public if requested. Only the prescribed persons as per the Planning Act may appeal a decision or condition of approval within 20 days after the decision. So if I could have a mover and seconder for today's agenda, please. I see Len moving and Lee seconding. That the Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Seguin hereby approves the agenda for the June 14th, 2023 hearing. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I require a mover and seconder to approve the minutes of last month's meeting, please. Wibb and Lee. That the Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Seguin hereby accepts as read and circulated. Now, we didn't read them, but I assume you did. The minutes of its last hearing that took place on Wednesday, May the 10th, 2023. All those in favor? Carried. So I will ask the Secretary Treasurer one more thing before we get going. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Anyone have any conflicts with anything on today's agenda? None seen. So we'll carry on to the first application, please, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of minor variance application number A-2023-0013-F for Bar is to permit the reconstruction of the previously existing legal non-compliant dwelling on the subject property. The applicants are seeking a variance for an increase in gross floor area, as well as to recognize the front yard setbacks for the dwelling and attached deck. No formal correspondence was received.
All right, thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak to the application? I see we have some representation here. Or we do, no, no one.
I'd
Lee,
like, yeah, when I got to this site, what struck me was the absence of any buffer. And in reviewing the report, it says, a recommended condition of approval is for the owners to enter into an agreement with municipality pursuant to section 45, 9.1 of the Planning Act, which is to be registered on title and includes a submittance of a revegetation plan to ensure that sufficient revegetation occurs on the property. This property was clear to the water line. There was no vegetation whatsoever. Have we received or will we receive a revegetation plan?
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, I can respond to that if you'd like.
yes, please,
So
yeah.
yes, staff are recommending that the owners do go through that minor variance agreement, which includes getting registered on title and the submittance of the revegetation plan. So staff do recommend that committee approve based on that condition. So to answer your question, yes, they would be required to submit a revegetation plan, which would then be reviewed by our director of planning to ensure that there's sufficient vegetation put back on the subject lands. And the building is slightly moving further back from the shoreline as well. So it does open that area up a bit more for additional plantings from what the original proposal was. But in short, yes, they will be required to submit a revegetation plan and to revegetate the shoreline.
Len,
I noticed that as well. I was wondering, I had that as a note here. And it says that they have to have a professional planner do it. So is that going to be a part of the condition that a plan be submitted as to what is going to be done, what type of vegetation? Because it looks like a fairly significant undertaking to do that, as he suggested.
Yes, so the owner will be required to get a professional landscaper to do up the revegetation plan. So on the plan, they have to indicate where they're proposing the trees or the bushes, what types of trees. So all of that will be indicated on the plan that gets submitted.
I have a related question with respect to, during construction and further excavation and so on, is protection of runoff and erosion part of the building plan, or how is that handled?
So I believe Mr. Barr is in attendance, but he actually, I'm not sure when committee members conducted their site visit, but I'll share my screen quickly. The owner did put in fencing. I can share my screen.
So this is John Barr online. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we
John,
can.
we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm calling in on my cell phone, so I can't see a screen. So when I talked to the township about the revegetation by a professional, I'm in agreement with that occurring. I had submitted documents showing what the property looked like in 2015 when we purchased it and the condition today. There's been no trees that were cut down within that first 60 meters. I'm not opposed to planting trees or following whatever a professional landscaper indicates that we need to do. And after members of the township were out there, I did install a sediment fence to control any potential runoffs or whatever so that it doesn't go down to the lakefront. And I provided pictures of that to Ashley via email.
Okay, thank you. Is that, so that wasn't a requirement? Like I'm just asking the question here, how that's handled on the township side in terms of, supervision of building site. Is there any formal
I'm not
oversight?
sure. I'm not sure if it was a formal requirement. It's just something that I did to be proactive, right?
Okay. Seguin staff, did you have any further information on how that protection would be supervised, or is it just voluntary at this point?
Yeah, I'll jump in, Taylor, if you have anything to add, but I believe it is a concern of provincial, more the province. However, we don't have any rules indicating that the fencing is required at this time. We did flag it to the owner just to ensure that he mitigates any adverse construction impacts. Taylor, I'm not sure if you have anything further to add to that.
Not especially. If committee is concerned, a condition could be added that the sediment control fencing be maintained for the duration of the active building permit. So that way it is a condition of the approval.
Any comments from committee on that point? The owner has voluntarily established it. Do we want to make this formal or leave it voluntary?
Is it a big deal to make it formal?
I'll jump in there. It's not a big deal. If you guys wanted to add a condition, we would just require a mover to bring forward a motion to amend the conditions. And then we require a seconder, and we can vote on that motion to add that condition.
Well, since the builder or since the owner is already doing it, I would certainly make that motion that it be formalized.
Yeah, I would support that.
And does that include
Lee?
revegetation?
Well, the revegetation is a condition under number 3 that
Okay,
Yeah, the revegetation is covered. This would just add some additional protection during the construction phase of the project. All right, so
So,
sorry, go ahead,
so
please.
it's John. Sorry, it's John Barr talking again. Whether it's formal or voluntary, I intend to keep it in place, so it doesn't matter to me. Like, even if it's not formal, I'm still going to keep it in place and maintain the sediment fence.
Good.
Okay, so committee, what's your feeling, formal or not formal? Show of hands, I guess, for formal. Okay, so if we could have sorry, what's the procedure then? We'll have a mover to move the intent to have this formalized and added to the resolution.
Yes, so we'll just require a mover and a seconder, and then a quick vote, and we can add it.
Okay,
so
so if we have a mover and seconder then to add this condition to the motion. Lee is
I'll move.
moving. Seconder,
well, I thought we already proposed the motion, but fine. I'll
yeah,
second.
well, just to formalize it, so Len will second the motion to add this condition to the decision. Mr. Barr, that's satisfactory to you?
Yes, that's satisfactory. I'm going to keep it in place anyways. Thank you.
Okay. So Lee, how shall we proceed then with the wording of the added clause, or will you add that subsequently?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I have some wording if you wanted to include this. That's condition number 4. that the stormwater management fencing and maintenance be maintained for the duration of construction. If committee is okay with that.
Okay, I'm just jotting that down. Stormwater management fencing,
Yep, and measures be maintained for the duration of construction.
measures maintained for duration of construction. All right. Any further discussion? Okay, none seen. So if we could have a mover and seconder then to bring this motion forward to approve this application. Moved by Lee. Seconded by Len. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves variance application A 2023-0013-F R to permit the reconstruction of the previously existing legal non-complying dwelling and attached decks on the subject property. Variances are requested to the following sections of zoning bylaw 2006-125. Gross floor area, maximum permitted 188 square meters. Proposal is for 253 square meters for a variance of 65 square meters. Front yard setback for a dwelling, maximum permitted is 20 meters. The proposed is 16.2 meters for a variance of 3.8 meters. And for minimum front yard setback for a deck, the maximum permitted is 20 meters. The proposal is for 15.6 meters, and that is a variance of 4.4 meters. So subject to the following conditions, the extent of the variance will generally conform to that shown on the sketch plan submitted in the application. That the owner applies for and obtains the required demolition permits and the building permit for the new dwelling / attached decks within 3 years of the date of decision of the Committee of Adjustment. 6 meters. And that the owners enter into an agreement with the municipality pursuant to section 45, subsection 9.1 of the Planning Act to be registered on title, which will include provisions such as the submittance of a vegetation plan prepared by a qualified professional to be approved by the Director of Planning. And then we have a fourth condition that the stormwater management fencing measure be maintained for the duration of construction. All those in favor? And carried. Thank you, Mr. Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. So the application has been approved, subject to the conditions, and you will receive a notice of decision in the next few days, and the appeal period now starts.
Thank you for your attention to this detail. Have a great day.
All right,
I
Madam
can
Chair.
sign,
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
can sign off then. I can sign off then.
Yes,
You
thank you.
can remain if you wish, but there's no further discussion of your application.
Okay, thank you. Take care. I know.
Bye-bye. Okay, Madam Secretary, Carr Wagler application introduction, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The purpose of minor variance application A-2023-0011-H for Carr Wagler is to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin and balcony, requesting variances to permit an increase in guest cabin floor area and building height. No formal correspondence was received.
All right, thank you. Do we have representation on this one? I don't believe so. Oh, sorry, there you are. S. Arndt, I didn't recognize it. It's not a last name. So if you wish to speak, please go ahead.
Sorry, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Just to let you know, I do represent Carr and Wagler, so if there is any questions, I can address those.
All right, thank you. Committee, any questions on this application? Webb.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I must say, when I got there without the report package, I was a little confused with the site, but I think I have it in my mind now. The one thing I noticed was hydro wires. I think they may be an issue before the construction is finished. But other than that, once I got my head around what was considered front and what was considered rear, I think that it all makes sense to me.
Mr. Arndt, any comment on that?
Yep, Mr. Chair, through you. The hydro wires have been looked at, and we have reached out to Hydro One. We've reached out to an independent contractor. There is a plan at some point in time to bury those underground. It's a very expensive proposition, so we haven't moved forward with that at this time. With the construction of the coach house garage, it could be done, but to your point, it is in close proximity to the existing hydro lines. So we have taken it into consideration, and we do have a quote for it. If we had to, we would probably do it in advance if it was required.
All right. Any other questions, comments from committee or planning? None heard. All right, if I could have a mover and seconder, please, to bring the motion forward. I see Wibb moving and Lee seconding. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves variance application A-2023-0011-H for Carr/Wagler to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin and balcony subject to a height of 7.56 meters. The proposed variances require relief from zoning bylaw sections from zoning bylaw 2006-125 with the from the following sections. Maximum building height permission is for 4.5 meters. We're asking for 7.56 meters for a variance of 3.06 meters. And for guest cabin floor area, a maximum of 60 square meters is permitted. The ask is for 67.5 square meters for a variance of 7.5 square meters. Subject to the following conditions, the extent of the variances will generally conform to that shown on the sketch plan submitted in the application, that the owner applies for and obtains a building permit for the garage and guest cabin within 3 years of the date of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Arndt. You're welcome to stay, or otherwise we are finished with your application.
I'll sign off, but thank you very much, Chair, Committee, and staff for the consideration. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Madam Secretary Barnhart, application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of minor variance application number A-2023-0012-H for Barnhart is to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin, requesting a variance for a slight increase in building height. No formal correspondence was received.
Okay. Mr. Barnhart, do you have anything you'd wish to tell us?
No, I just want to let you know I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, committee. Questions on this application? None seen, none heard. Yeah, we have a slew of these guest cabins on garages today, so this one has only one variance. So if there's last call for questions, comments, otherwise we'll go ahead and look for a mover and seconder for the motion, please.
I move.
Moved by, sorry, Len, is that a question or a
No,
moving?
I'll move. I'll move for approval.
Okay, Len moves and Lee seconds. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves variance application A 2023-0012-H for Barnhart to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin, subject to a height of 4.95 meters. The proposed variance is required for relief from zoning bylaw 2006-125. For maximum building height, the permission is 4.5 meters, proposal is 4.95 meters for a variance of 0.45 meters. The extent of the variance will conform to that shown on the sketch plan submitted in the application. The owner applies for and obtains a building permit for the garage and guest cabin within 3 years of the date of decision of the Committee of Adjustment, and that the owner removes the storage container from the lands once construction of the garage and guest cabin has been completed. All in favor? And carried. Thank you, Mr. Barnard.
And thanks to the staff and township staff and members of the committee. Very much appreciated and thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Barnhart. So it's been approved. You'll get a letter in the next few days notifying you of the decision, and the 20-day appeal period now starts.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Madam Secretary, moving on. Ruffolo Di Giovanni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of minor variance application number A-2023-0014-F for D Giovanni is to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin in the upper story and attached deck, requesting variances for an increase in building height and guest cabin floor area. No formal correspondence was received.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ruffolo. You are attending. Anything you'd like to tell us?
No, just thank you for letting me participate.
Okay, well, thanks for coming. I will put it out to the committee for questions and comments. Anyone?
Very secluded area.
Yeah, it's a pretty protected spot.
Yeah, it's very, very beautiful, and we're trying to maintain that.
Okay, let's call some questions. Then I will ask for a mover and seconder for the motion, please. Lee moves. Was that Webb that put his hand up?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It could be me, it could be Len.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with Webb then. As a seconder, that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves variance application A 2023-0014-F for Ruffolo Di Giovanni to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin in the upper story and a attached deck, subject to a height of 8.1 meters. The proposed variances require relief from the following sections of zoning bylaw 2006-125. Section 4.1.4 maximum building height. Permitted is 4.5 meters. Proposed is 8.1 meters for a variance of 3.6 meters. And the maximum guest cabin floor area permission is normally 60 square meters. We're looking at permission for 102 square meters for a variance of 42 square meters. Subject to the following conditions: the extent of the variances will generally conform to that shown on the sketch plan submitted in the application, and that the owner applies for and obtains a building permit for the garage and guest cabin within 3 years of the date of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Ruffolo, you're all set.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you. So the application has been approved. You'll receive a letter of the notice of decision in the next couple of days, and the appeal period now starts.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. And looks like we're on to the last one, Madam Chair. If you could introduce Clarkson, please.
Thank you. The purpose of minor variance application number A-2023-0015-H for Clarkson is to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin in the upper story, requesting variance for an increase in building height. No formal correspondence was received.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We have representation here, Savas Varadas from Plan Muskoka. The guest cabin on the garage is popular today. Anything that you need to tell us about yours?
Yeah, I'm actually never seen so many of the same types of applications on one agenda before, so this is the first for me. Nothing really high to note here. I would just note that the location of this proposed building is 200 feet back from the water and really centrally located on the site, and it's actually far from the rear lot line as well too. It's really as close to the middle of the property as you can get, so I don't imagine it would impact anybody around it. And just like the other ones, it's just looking for a little bit more height on the upper story just to accommodate a sleeping cabin. And this sleeping cabin does in fact comply with the 60 square meters of maximum floor area. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have though.
Thank you, committee.
Just a question. Where the garage is built, is there another A-frame building or something in the next property? Or what's on the property right adjacent to it?
That
Seems quite open there.
I don't recall when I was on the site seeing another structure in that area, so I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to.
It looked like a garage to me on the next property.
Oh, okay.
It just seemed open, where that there wasn't much buffering there. I don't know.
Okay.
Are you referring to further up the hill then? Is that what
Up the hill, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I honestly, it's been a little while since I've been to the property, and I don't recall that spot. I apologize. Couldn't tell you.
I just wanted to jump in. I just am taking a look at the site plan. Just wanted to note the setback to the lot line there is 10 meters. So it exceeds the minimum of 5. Yeah. I just wanted to add that in there.
Okay, thank you, Grady. I think there was also a utility line there that you'll have to deal with at some point, but not really the step. So anything else, comments, questions? Okay, I will look for a mover and seconder then to bring this motion forward. I see Lee moving and Len seconding. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves variance application A 2023-0015-H for Clarkson to construct a detached garage with a guest cabin in the upper story subject to a height of 6 meters. The following variance to zoning bylaw 2006-125 is required to permit the development. Section 4.1.4 maximum building height permitted is 4.5 meters. Proposal is for 6 meters for variance of 1.5 meters. Subject to the following conditions, the extent of the variance will generally conform to that shown on the sketch plan submitted in the application. And number 2, the owner applies for and obtains a building permit for the garage and guest cabin within 3 years of the date of decision of the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for attending.
Savas, you know the drill.
I do know the drill. Thank you.
Okay, I think we went through those. So I'm asking for other business. I think what we have on the agenda is discussion regarding hybrid meetings. So if you could update us, please, Lauren.
Yeah, I think the last time we spoke about the possibility of going to a hybrid hearing, we were waiting to see what council decided at the end of their trial period. So that trial period has now passed. In the last council meeting, they actually decided to continue on with the hybrid model of the council meetings. The clerk stated that they will be working on a hybrid council protocol, which at that point, when that's completed, we can kind of piggyback off that protocol and make our own committee of adjustment hybrid protocol for conducting hearings. But at this time, it's up to committee if you would like to start hybrid versions of the hearing, we can do that starting at the next hearing, or we can wait till August when we may have a hybrid protocol for committee of adjustment hearing. But at this point, it's up to the committee and however you want to proceed.
Okay, so I mean, mechanically, all the technology is in place. It's all working and functioning, and yeah.
It
Okay.
is, yes. So both the members of public plus the committee members will have the option to either join in by Zoom or they can attend in person. We do have the technology in the council chambers that will allow us to do the hybrid model. So it is all set up. It'll be a little bit of training for myself and Brady, but we can look into doing that starting at the next hearing if that's what committee decides.
Okay, and the protocol is required for what exactly?
So it's not technically required. It's something that we will look at probably implementing, just so committee members are aware of the protocol with the hybrid and in-person hearing. Council is looking at doing this within the next month or so. So once they have finished their protocol, that's when committee, or staff can start preparing a committee of adjustment protocol. It's more of a technical document, but it is good for committees to have.
Okay, well, let's go around the screen. What do you think?
Well, I'd like to have the option of attending in person, but if it's easier to wait to have this protocol, I think I could handle that, but I really would like to have the option to be able to, that way I might get to know people a little bit better. I have trouble really identifying with people online.
Okay, Lee?
Yeah, what has it been? 5 meetings we've had on Zoom? 4 or 5, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with this. This is extremely convenient. In the winter time, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be this is just very comfortable. I was on a meeting, on a phone meeting this morning with a business contact from Bahamas, and we're now going to use this same platform because I like it so much. So I'm very comfortable with this.
But you have no objection to hybrid?
I have no objection whatsoever to hybrid. And, you know, in the summertime, I'd be glad if things were, I have a full day here, and you know what? I'm able to shut the computer off and go back outside and do things where, even though I'm only 7 minutes from council chambers, it's really convenient to be able to shut this off, turn it on, and continue on with my day. And I think a lot of people are finding this works, this platform works, but I have no objection to going to a hybrid platform.
Okay, super. Glenn?
I'd like to see how it works with council and use that as a template and move forward. If it works well. Do I understand that the council will be doing it and we'll be able to see how it works?
Yeah, I can jump in, Mr. Chair. So council actually has completed their trial period. They've been doing hybrid versions of council meetings already for the past number of months. And they've just ended that trial period, and they voted to continue with the hybrid model. So they have used this technology in the system, and it so far works quite well for the hybrid model. So we would use that same hybrid technology for our hearings. they would be held up in the council chambers for in person. But like I said, members of the public or committee members can still have the options joining by Zoom.
Supplementary to that, how does the staff feel? What would their preference be? In terms
Staff
of
are
efficiency?
whatever works with the committee. We're open to hybrid for sure. We have the technology in place, so it's easy for us to make that shift if that's what the committee decides.
I think I'm a little, I'm with Wib. I do like to have some, personal contact periodically. And I think with COVID settling down at the moment, that doesn't mean that it'll stay there, but yeah, I have no objection to the hybrid and would probably show up at the council chambers myself. But I really think that many organizations are going this way, and actually where my work experience before this also, we were moving that way because there were various offices across the world. So some people were physically in an office somewhere and the rest joined remotely. So I think it's probably the way of the future, but yeah, I have no objection to hybrid. And as far as when do we start, I might leave that to staff. I mean, whenever you guys are ready, I guess is the best, because we rely on you to set everything up and arrange everything. So my suggestion would be, when you're ready, let us know, and if the committee agrees, then we'll start.
Okay. Yep. It's dependent if committee wants to wait for that protocol. If you do want a protocol in place prior to, we can look at preparing something for the next hearing and then starting the hybrid version in August. If committee members are open to that, we don't necessarily need a protocol in place to begin the hybrid meetings. So it's whatever committee prefers. Staff can be ready for the hybrid hearing at the next hearing. So I suppose we could do a quick informal vote on whether June or July or August would be best, and then put that in place.
Okay, well, I mean, I personally don't mind waiting one more meeting, and then at least there's a united front from the township coming forward from all committees.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah, I'm all in with that too.
Okay.
I've watched a couple of council meetings, and it used to be, before they tried the hybrid, that they were all online except the mayor and clerk, obviously. But I see they're migrating back to the council chambers, some of them. So, I mean, there's some validity to having the personal, the chance to have a chat with somebody, as opposed to, you're online, you really don't feel comfortable. I don't really feel comfortable with it. So I'm willing to wait till August. I don't have a problem there.
Okay.
Okay, I think if no one else has any opinions otherwise, then we'll do it that way.
August.
August it is.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. Any other business from anyone that you'd like to bring forward?
Well, I have a little something, and I don't know whether it has any validity or not, but I'm same opinion as everybody else. But we got a slew of these gas cabins above garages going on, and they all seem to need a variance, and they're all getting variances. At what point do they just become a common zoning thing that allows them to do it? I mean, I get that it's easier to maybe keep track of them if you're doing them by variance, but holy smokes.
That I can jump in, Mr. Chair. So that is something actually staff are looking into, especially it just happens to be coincidence that we got 4 in the same hearing, but it is something staff are looking into, possibly doing a zoning housekeeping amendment to the bylaw to permit a slightly more flexible building height for these garages that come in with requesting an upper floor. So it is something that staff are currently looking into and possibly addressing this through a zoning bylaw amendment.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but the two, especially with the shed roofs or whatever you call them, they're kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to heights right off the top. So now that one down at Maplehurst, I would say probably should be something that still is dealt with through a variance, but again, it just seems like it's becoming a real trend.
Yeah, so we'll get away from talking about the specific applications. We can only talk in broad
Oh,
terms
I'm sorry.
after applications have been passed, but you're certainly correct. It really does depend on the type of roof shed or the type of roof. Even between Brady can comment, but on how we measure height. I know.
Average, no.
Yeah, Brady, if you want to jump in with the differences between the heights.
Yeah,
in general terms.
Yeah, just with the shed roofs, which we saw two of them, or sorry, I shouldn't say what we saw today, but with shed roofs, we do measure to the peak, not to the midpoint. But with other roofs, like a gable roof, we're measuring to the midpoint. So with those shed roofs, we do have to measure to the peak, which creates a higher height and overall height. So yeah, I guess some property owners can be at a disadvantage if they're proposing a different style of roof.
Well, on the other hand, I think there is building up is for sure more efficient than building out, and with, rugged terrain and, rather than clearing more bush and putting a second building up, it does make some sense to have accommodation over a garage if you can, and 4.5 meters is not really that much. So yeah, I mean, I can see some justification in coming up with a better way to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
We will keep committee members updated as well. If this does go to council for an amendment to the zoning bylaw, we'll keep you informed.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
It's a good point.
Anything else from anyone? No. Okay, very good. Then I will ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Or not asking for the motion, but for the mover. Lee is moving. And Webb is seconding that the Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this hearing at 4:46 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 14th, 2023. The committee will hold its next meeting at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, July the 12th, 2023, or at the call of the chair, unless the Secretary Treasurer has not received complete applications for committee consideration. Moved. Sorry. Looking for a vote then, if we're all in favor. Okay, carried.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.